Good morning. Oh my gosh, that light is intense. Where's that light coming in from? Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is the Awesome Saturday Service. Maybe go over here. I don't know, man. This light is crazy. This is the Awesome Saturday Service, and I am Maui Paul. We are here today to have to experience a wonderful, lovely Sabbath, and apparently to watch my face be so bright. We can't see anything in it, but that's okay. I think that this is what I get for doing things after 9 a.m. Right? I'll have a set soon enough. But anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. Good morning, Shauna. Hope you're having a happy, awesome Saturday. Happy, awesome Saturday to everybody. This is the Sabbath, and we are here today to go through the awesome Saturday service and really just hang out and discuss the deeper spiritual stuff that empowers the wake up call. Anyways, wonderful to see you here, Shauna, and to the other folks who are watching on Twitch and YouTube. Hello, hello. Glad that you are here. Drop a comment. I'll be happy to say hello to you. But anyways, yeah, we are here to affirm that Saturday is awesome, and we're gonna hang out with awesome people. We're gonna do awesome things. We're gonna be in awesome places. We're gonna eat awesome food. But in general, we are going to celebrate our own inherent value and worth. Saturday is a day for being. The Sabbath is not a day for doing. The Sabbath is a day for being. And that this service is probably the, the foremost thing that I do on Awesome Saturday is to prep for this the night before. But anyways, yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about. Well, we're going to be going back over to my series about magic words, and magic words are essentially just small words that we use all the time unconsciously, and that really do have the incredible ability to empower our lives when used consciously. So, and it's also Easter weekend, so hooray! I'll be touching on that as well. But today we're talking about the power of yes. The power of yes. The word yes, man. Everybody loves to hear the word yes, but sometimes we are afraid to say it. Sometimes, saying yes to life can be a very difficult thing. Somebody once asked me, they said, "How is it that you've done so many things?" Because I have. I've done a lot of different stuff in life. And my answer to them was, well, when opportunity came up, I just said yes to it. I said yes to opportunity. I said yes to things. I I said yes to the something that I'd never done before. And saying yes to something that I've never done before has taken me to lots and lots of different places. Oftentimes, I've said yes before I really knew that I could do it. I just suspected that I would be able to do it. Once I put in a little bit of effort. And so, the word yes, when we hear it, it's a wonderful word. We love to hear yes. We love to hear that when we ask somebody for something, that we hear or experience that yes because we're getting what we want. But oftentimes, when we say the word yes, it's that there's this idea that we are giving up something. That when we say yes, we're actually surrendering. When we say yes, we are capitulating to somebody else, and maybe we don't want to do that. And so the idea here is that yes, the word yes is not a weakness. Yes is the bravest word that we can possibly say. The word yes is how we align with the flow of life and how we walk through doors that we didn't even know were open. How often do we think that or do we think, oh, we're stuck in some situation, not realizing that there's a door open that we can just walk right through? How often do we stay in a situation that we don't actually like when there are other options available to us? And the word yes is what opens us up to these options. So, most people, myself included, get into this mental rut of thinking that being strong means holding on or digging in or mostly just saying no to the things that we're afraid of. But spiritual growth often completely looks the opposite way. And the spiritual growth is about letting go. Spiritual growth is about opening up. Spiritual growth is about saying yes. And so oftentimes, and this is especially true for religious folks, is religious folks will ask for growth, but then resist the unfamiliarity that comes with growth. Like, oh, I wish that there was a change. I pray for a change. I need a change. Something has to change. And then when things start to change, we cling to what's familiar because well, the change is terrifying. We pray for peace, and yet we cultivate the chaos in our lives. Our lives are chaotic, and we're like, oh, Jesus, take the wheel. No, 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 wait, no, give it back. I actually had a hilarious interaction with somebody. I was at a grocery store in Honolulu. I'll never forget this. And I was just joking with this guy, and I was talking about the fact that I had moved to Hawaii, and I had moved to Hawaii without really a plan. I was brand new into into the state, and I was like, yeah, I'm looking around for a job, I'm looking for a house, I'm staying in an Airbnb, and he's like, oh, Jesus, take the wheel. And then all of a sudden, he got all horrified, this horrified look on his on his face. He's like, no, no, give it back. And I was like, oh, did you think Jesus would take the wheel and that would scare the crap out of you? I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I did it. I moved to Hawaii with like $800 in my bank account and a 3-day Airbnb reservation. And in retrospect, probably wasn't the smartest thing I possibly could have done. But you know what? I left Hawaii with a new career and with 6 figures in the bank. And like, I mean, I did okay for myself when I left the state. All the failure that everybody told me that I was going to experience just didn't happen. And so, so oftentimes we want change, we desire change, and yet, as long as nothing has to change, like, oh, something needs to change, except that I don't want anything to change, and yes is the way that we embrace that change. And so, yeah, so it's like, how often have you ever met people who are living life as if they're just sort of like clinging on the edge of a river, and we say that we want to be in life's flow, but just not yet. Just but for right now, we're still going to cling. Right now, we are going to cling to that bank embankment because we're very much afraid of where that river is going to take us. So saying yes is a form of surrender. It's a form of surrender to the divine, and but it's not necessarily submission. When we say surrender, it sounds like we're giving up, but in the spiritual life, saying yes is really more like showing up. Hey, Josiah. Hey, there's a guy who said yes. There's a guy. So Josiah, I know for a fact that you went and moved to a totally different town, a totally different city, a totally different state. Not entirely sure what was going to be there for you. And I mean, I've been following your posts. You're doing rad. You seem like you are having an amazing life, a life that you couldn't have had you continued to stay in your current situation. So when we say yes to life, we are showing up. We're not giving up. We're not giving up our power or authority. We're simply showing up, and we're saying, okay, life, take us to a place. Let's see what you got that's better than I would have given to myself. And so we're not giving into circumstances when we're saying yes, especially spiritually. We're giving into a calling. And how many people have you met in your life who seem to have a calling and were rejecting that calling? I feel like for a lot of my life, I was rejecting my own calling. Doing the wake up call is a part of my own calling. I sat down one day and I was like, what is the most important thing that I could possibly be doing in life? And it was the wake up call. So that's what I do. So the the fact is that we are giving into a calling when we say yes. And the reason why the word yes is so powerful is because it puts ego into its proper place. We think that we know who we are. And when we say yes to something unfamiliar, we learn more about who we really are. When I was younger, I had a whole plan all the way out from birth to retirement, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to continue working the same kind of a job that I had always worked. I would eventually end up earning about $35 an hour, something like that. And eventually, over the course of time and over the course of a whole career, by saving a bunch of money, by never getting married, by never having kids, by by just putting away about 60-70% of my income, one day when I was old, I would be able to finally retire and not have to do any of that crap anymore that I hated. Well, one day, I had never really drank all that much, but this is a time when alcohol really did have a profound impact in my life. My roommate had bought a bottle of alcohol, and one day it was like Friday night, and I sat down and I had some drinks with him, and I got to thinking, and I was like, why on earth would I make a plan where I hate every single part of the plan up until the very end that I only get to experience when I die? I think it's time for me to have a new plan. And but my ego had told me exactly who I was. And when I stopped listening to my ego, then the correct help just started to show up in my life. The correct timing started to show up in my life. The correct divine grace and divine favor, a divine appointment started to show up in my life because I started to say no to the things I hated and yes to the things that were unknown, but I figured must be better than what I had. So when we say yes, we are telling ourselves, we're like, I might not know what's next, but I trust the one who does know what's next. I trust that I trust that God has an amazing plan for me, and therefore I'm going to say yes to life, and I'm going to trust, and I'm going to see where it takes. Now, one of the biggest fears, of course, is what if I say yes to something and it goes terribly wrong? I've made some pretty big mistakes in my life. I'm sure you have too. All of us make mistakes. We don't get through life without making some really big screw ups. Uh, but every time that we're worried about saying yes because we might get hurt, or because it doesn't work, or because we give up something good and we have something less good, which is always the fear of saying yes, then the fact is that even in its going wrong, even in the trouble, even in the setbacks, the temporary setbacks, we still grow tremendously. I remember once that I accepted a promotion at work. It was incredibly ill-advised, and I mean, at the time, it felt like I was doing a great thing. I was moving forward in my career, but in the end, that particular career path was a total dead end. It was a dead end for me. It was a dead end for the company, and I ended up just working myself to death, attempting to salvage a project that was a failure from before it was even conceived. And I did the best I could, and did not receive the support necessary in order to really make it work. And because of there are other things there are other things going on as well that just made it not work. And I remember that at the time my wife was like, you need to talk to your bosses about this. This isn't working. You need to tell them about this. This is killing you. And at the time, I just didn't have that much spine in me. I just didn't have that much spine. But one day, after it not working for a really, really long time, and me being at like food banks and stuff because this project was just not working, and I was being paid on the profits of this project, which were nothing. Well, one day, sitting in line at the food bank after working 80 hours a week for basically nothing, I was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to just lay down an ultimatum for these people and be like, we're either going to do this a different way, or I'm going to be compensated a different way for this project that sucks, or I'm going to go do something else. And so that's exactly what I did. And let me tell you, it took a tremendous amount of growth, and they were just as mad as I thought they would be about the whole thing. And in the end, we had a not particularly amicable split. And but the thing that happened to me after that not particularly amicable split, that thing was that I got into an amazing career that it paid 4 times the amount of money that I ever could have earned at the previous one. And it was also something that I love to do, that I woke up every morning happy to go to work, happy to share my gifts like that. And so even when things go wrong, it's not that things are falling apart. It's that things are falling into place. And what really had to fall apart in that experience, in that about 9 months that I did that terrible that I worked very hard at that promotion that was not particularly good for me, was that what was that stuff was falling into place, that I was growing, that the adversity itself was teaching me how to have these difficult conversations and how to have them earlier. The next time something like that happened to me, I was able to approach it with more tact. And I was also very, very quickly able to just approach it and nip it in the bud. And you know what happened? The people that I was on the team with were like, "Huh, your ideas make a lot of sense. Let's just let's implement these and see what happens." And we implemented them, and all was well. And the fact is that I ended up with a whole lot more self-respect. The there's a the gentleman that the gentleman who was my boss during that failed career move that I did. I have a little saying in my life. I'm not going to use his name, but I'm like, this guy taught me self-respect, because I didn't have all that much of it before I met him. But let me tell you, after being treated that way for that long, I ended up with a bunch of it. So the fact is that I said yes to something, it didn't work, and yet it grew me tremendously and made me the person I am today. Nowadays, and one of the lessons that I learned is just say, if something isn't working, bring it up sooner. So, the fact is that when sometimes when we are in pain, that pain is a part of our healing. That pain is a part of our growth. And sometimes when we're confused, that confusion is what is necessary for us to lead to clarity. And sometimes when God is closing every single door, it's because God is creating a hallway, and there is only one way for us to walk down. And the Bible says God works all things together for the good of those who love God, who are the called according to God's purpose. And that doesn't mean that all these things are painless, and that doesn't mean that all these things make sense. It does mean that it does mean that all things work together, and that includes the things that we think are working, and also the things that we don't think are working. So, this being Easter, I figure I would just go and dive into the Bible a bit, particularly the story about Jesus, because it's Easter and all Christians all over the world are celebrating, or what we call them the CEOs. A lot of CEOs are around Christmas and Easter only. But let's just think about like the power of yes in the whole Jesus narrative, which starts off with Mary. Now, the Catholics have quite the veneration for Mary. The Protestants not so much, but the Catholics have a tremendous veneration for Mary. But when the Holy Spirit said, "Hey, I'm going to I'm going to come upon you. You're going to conceive and bear a child," which is a very unusual thing for a teenage girl, essentially. Mary said, "Let it be unto me as you have said." And so, the angel said, "Hey, you're going to go and you're going to bear a kid through the power of the Holy Spirit." She had every reason on earth to be very, very scared of that, of saying yes to that. And the reason that she had that the reason is because, well, adulterers got stoned. So I mean, if she was found to be pregnant by the power of the Holy Spirit, who on earth is going to believe this Middle Eastern teenager? Yeah, that would be nobody. But as it turns out, Joseph, was going to put her away quietly so that she wouldn't be executed. But then an angel appeared to him as well in the story, and essentially there was that divine appointment there. When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, basically saying, "Hey God, I really don't want to do this because crucifixion sucks." Jesus ended up by saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." It was a very powerful yes. If Jesus hadn't said that yes, there would not be a religion called Christianity. So the yes was not an easy thing. There was a lyric to a Christian song that, man, is stuck in my head because of just how absurd it is. But I used to listen to this on record all the time when I was a kid because we didn't have radio stations, but we sure did have my mom and dad's record collection. And it's a song about love, and it says, "Jesus didn't die for you because it was fun. He hung there for love because it had to be done. And in spite of the anguish, his word was fulfilled. For love is not a feeling; it's an act of your will." And I think about that, and think about just how much that has earwormed into my head, because the fact is that being executed isn't fun, and certainly not the way that the Romans did it. And yet, in the story of Jesus, Jesus said, "Not my will, but yours be done." Jesus said yes to this thing, which is horrible. So, the fact is that every time that we say yes to growth or to forgiveness or to love, we are creating something holy. And if you recall, the word holy basically means set apart for a purpose. And so whenever we say yes to forgiveness, whenever we say yes to love, whenever we say yes to the unknown, whenever we say, okay, I'm willing to do this new thing that I've never done before and see how the universe shows up to support me in this new thing, then we are creating something holy. Then we are living we are living a new life. We are living as a new person. So the thing is, or the big question that I have for myself always when I come up with these magic words or when I think about these is, like, how do we put this into practice? How do we start taking these unintentional or unconscious words that we use all the time and start being conscious about them? And the big the big thing here is that, or the first step I should say, is to say yes to the small things. Say yes to quiet. Say yes to rest. Say yes to help. Holy crap, say yes to help. Say yes to curiosity. Say yes to kindness. Even if it feels inefficient, even if it feels like it's weird, say yes to these things. I cannot tell you how often I go through life watching people scream no when everybody around them is willing and ready and happy to help out. I see so many people saying no to resting because they think that their actions are going to somehow will the stuff into being. I see people saying no to being quiet. I see them saying no to being alone with their thoughts because it's so much easier to be with our phones than with our thoughts. The fact is, I see people saying no to downtime, even when that downtime is what empowers them to live an amazing life. So say yes to the little things and say yes right now to having a Sabbath. Say yes to being today. Say yes to giving up our ideas of who we are so that we can become who we are born to be. Say yes before we're ready. Say yes before we feel ready for that transformation. Say yes even though we don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't have to know how it'll work. Say yes and then trust. Say yes and then see where life takes us. Faith is like the headlights on a foggy road. You ever driven home in the fog? You ever gone from one place to another in the fog at night? We can't see the whole way. We can't see our house from where we're going. We have trust. We have trust that the road that we're on is eventually going to take us there. We have trust that when there's a turn, we're going to recognize it and take that turn. We have trust that our headlights are going to illuminate enough of the road that we can be safe, and that if the fog gets too thick, that we can slow down. We can't see the whole way. We can always see enough to move forward. And so let's move forward into what we can see and then say yes to the next thing that comes along. The fact is that every time we move forward on the road, a new piece of road is revealed to us. And we could drive all the way across the country in the dark and the fog without running off the road just by navigating according to what we can perceive. And yes is the door to that perception. The fact is that yes is the start of co-creation. Yes isn't the end of control. Yes is the beginning of alignment. Yes doesn't yes doesn't mean that everything gets easy. Yes means that we stop standing in our own way. Yes is the seed of every single miracle, and every breakthrough starts with somebody saying yes. It starts with somebody saying, "Okay, I'll go. I'll try. I'm in." We don't have to fight our way into the future. We don't have to know the whole plan before we take the first step. We just have to say yes and then move toward what is calling us forward. And it is calling. And the fact that it is in our minds, the fact that it is in our consciousness, the fact that we are even thinking about it, the fact that the dreams are inside of our head means that it is ours to become. And so yes is a word of becoming. So say yes, my beautiful friends. Say yes to today. Say yes to things that scare you. Say yes to things that you haven't done before. I do it all the time, and it has led me to some really, really, really cool life situations. And in the end, this magic word, yes, the three letters, one syllable, ultimately helps us define who we become in this life. I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to continue every awesome Saturday to do more of these magic words. I actually have about 14 or 15 of them, every single one of which only has one syllable in it, and every single one of which is something that oftentimes we use unconsciously or incorrectly, and that if we just start to use them consciously and and correctly, when we start to use them consciously, it will have a profound shift in how the way that our lives move forward. So thank you so much for being here. Good morning to everybody. Thanks for coming to the awesome Saturday service. I love doing these. These are so fun. So good morning, Shauna. Getting some ass in your shower. Awesome. Makes cleanup easy. Good morning to Josiah. Also loves getting some ass out in Las Vegas. Hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, Josiah. Good morning, Mandy. I'm sure you're with Josiah. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, Mandy. Good morning, Anita. Wonderful to see you here today. Good morning, Jen. Wonderful to see you too. I'm so happy to hear about your recovery. By the way, Jen, I've been just sort of like kind of Facebook stalking you, I guess. I miss you. I love you. I care about you, and I sincerely hope that I am able to see you again. Say hi to Tonic for me as well. He's also a really amazing person. I was having a conversation with with some Valley friends about people that we adore that don't really come around as much as they used to, and you Gin and Tonic were top of the list there. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Actually, we'll come back with another wake up call. I'm really excited. The wake up call is going to very soon be getting its own set, which I'm pretty cool. I'm happy about that. Don't have to do this in my living room no more. But I have a little bit more square footage, and I'm about to be using it. But until then, this is your up to the moment reminder. Like, I love you, I care about you, I appreciate you. I think that you're amazing. I believe in you. I believe in your dreams, and every single person around me is somebody who is ultimately doing really really cool stuff. And so keep doing that cool stuff. But today, let's stop. Let's not focus on the doing. Today, let's focus on the being. Today, let's be human beings and let's say yes to life. Let's just say yes to whatever comes around and then see where it takes us. Because in our yes, we have tremendous power. All right, my beautiful friends, I will talk to y'all tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Monday at 9 a.m. Tomorrow is my day off. I'll chat with y'all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, this is your up to the moment reminder that you are awesome. So let's recognize your inherent value and worth. The fact that you're on this earth means that you are called to change it and to remake it in your own image. So let's get on that today. And the way that we're going to do it today is simply by meditating and by being. All right. I love you. I care about you. I'll talk to you later. Until we meet again, aloha from paradise.